6 weeks into my temp job, the director called me to his office. "Someone's been tampering with our systems," she said coldly. I was 28 when my marine studies grant expired. 3 years of research on microbial ecology and coastal ecosystems. Gone because funding dried up. I needed income fast, so I took a temp position at Coastal Bay Shellfish Hatchery doing basic water quality checks. The pay was $18 an hour, and honestly, it felt like a massive step backward after nearly finishing my master's degree. The job was simple enough. I'd use these repurposed lab vials from a shuttered aquarium down the coast to collect samples and log readings into their sensor network. pH levels, temperature, salinity, dissolved oxygen, nothing complicated. The regular staff treated me like I was just passing through, which I guess I was supposed to be. What nobody knew was that I had my cousin Daniel's unpublished thesis loaded on a flash drive. He'd spent 5 years developing microbial ecology algorithms before switching careers to finance. The data was sitting there unused, and I couldn't stop myself from running calculations on my personal tablet during lunch breaks. 3 weeks in, I noticed something wrong with tank 7. The pH was drifting lower than optimal range for oyster larvae. I ran Daniel's algorithms and realized the buffering system was failing. I made a small adjustment to the calcium carbonate dosing without telling anyone. 2 days later, that spawn cycle hatched successfully. The facility manager mentioned it was worth about $40,000 in viable larvae. I just nodded and kept quiet. After that, I couldn't stop. I started inputting tiny filtration tweaks based on my calculations, flow rates, biofilm management, nutrient cycling optimizations. Over the next month, larval viability across all batches jumped by 23%. The senior biologist kept saying it was just a good season, but I knew better. Then I caught something serious. The sensor data showed microbial signatures that Daniel's algorithms flagged as a parasitic outbreak vector, specifically a Perkinsus-like organism that could decimate shellfish populations. We were about to release 2.3 million juvenile oysters for coastal restoration. If those oysters carried the parasite, it could destroy wild populations across the entire southeastern seaboard. I isolated the affected batch and adjusted the treatment protocols. Ran the calculations 3 times to be sure. The outbreak never materialized. 6 weeks into the job, Director Miranda Chen called me into her office. She's this intense woman in her 50s who built the hatchery from nothing. Her face was completely unreadable. "Someone's been tampering with our systems," she said coldly, pulling up access logs on her computer, making unauthorized changes to our sensor network, adjusting treatment protocols without approval. The compliance sweep flagged dozens of unregistered accesses. My stomach dropped. "That was me. I know it was you. What I want to know is why a temp worker thinks they can override our established procedures." I pulled out my tablet and flash drive with shaking hands. "My cousin developed microbial ecology algorithms for his doctoral thesis. I've been using them to run analysis on your system. The pH imbalance in tank 7, the filtration efficiency improvements, the parasitic outbreak I caught last week, all of that came from these calculations." She stared at me for a long moment. "You detected a parasitic outbreak? Perkinsus-like organism. It would have wiped out your annual release and potentially infected wild populations. I isolated batch 14C and modified the treatment protocol." Miranda didn't say anything, just took my flash drive and told me to go home. The next week, she ran controlled trials replicating every single one of my tweaks, had the senior staff verify my calculations, tested my isolated batch against the algorithms. Everything checked out. She called me back in exactly 7 days later. "Your work saved this facility. Probably saved the entire coastal restoration project. We're elevating you to research liaison, effective immediately. Salary is $68,000, and I'm putting you down as co-author on our conservation report going to Marine Biology Quarterly next month." I couldn't speak. "One more thing," she continued. "I'm nominating you for the Southeast Aquaculture Innovation Award. The ceremony is in November." I walked out of that office feeling like I could finally breathe again. After months of feeling like a failure because my grant expired, someone finally saw what I was actually capable of doing. The temp badge in my pocket suddenly felt very small.